I am Stephen Young, your host, and today I have teamed up with a few persuasive professionals to give me a little help. In this episode, we're stepping up your journey to becoming more persuasive, stretching your comfort zone and taking your skills to the next level. First, I'll introduce one of the most empathetic and effective ways to handle objections, a technique that instantly builds trust and softens resistance. Then we'll go further. I'll show you how to layer this with other persuasive patterns you've already learned, so you can weave them naturally into real conversations, exactly where it matters most. Today's new pattern is a classic for handling objections. Simple in structure, but surprisingly powerful. It's called the Feel, Felt, Found technique. It's a three-step response used when someone raises an objection or shares a worry. It's a way of meeting someone where they are, showing understanding, and guiding them forward naturally. In step 1, when someone says something not aligned with your goal, you start by truly acknowledging what they've said. You say, "I completely understand how you might feel about that. This mustn't be a throwaway line. You must show genuine understanding." In step 2, you reassure them by saying they're not alone. As you say, a lot of people have felt the same way. This normalizes their concern. It tells them it's okay to think as they do, as others have thought similarly. And more subtly, though not always consciously noticed, by using the past tense, the word felt quietly files those old emotions into the history folder as if they no longer apply. In step 3, we take it a step further by saying that everyone found, once they went ahead with X, that the advantages far outweighed any initial concerns. You've gently directed them to see a positive outcome or a new perspective or the benefits of your product or service. We use this technique because it's respectful. Instead of arguing or dismissing their concern, you're walking with them through it. You're saying, "I get you, you're not alone, and here's what others have discovered works." And along the way, almost without realizing it, they've started to let go of how they used to feel about X. It's important to note, this technique only works if you really mean it. Your prospects aren't naive and will instantly tell the difference between a caring guide and someone reciting lines. So be sincere, fake it, and you'll fail.
Hi, Stephen. It's Dorothy.
Hey there, Dorothy.
I hope you don't mind me jumping in.
Not at all.
I just wanted to add, when you taught me this, you suggested I practice saying the full phrase out loud.
Yes, it's the best way to familiarize yourself with how to change your voice tone and delivery.
I used to practice this daily and even created different scenarios before I used it in a real-life presentation. And the results? Just as you said, my prospect became enlightened, and I could see how his facial expression changed and his body language shifted as he acknowledged the truth in my suggestions.
You said the crucial word. Your prospect saw the truth in what you were proposing. That's the key. You were genuine, and you described your idea in a way that really sat well with what your prospect needed. Well done. So here's the bottom line. You've got to sound like you really mean it. If it doesn't feel genuine, it won't land. This technique, feel, felt, found, only works when it sounds like something you'd actually say. So don't copy it word for word. Wrap it around your own vocabulary. Say it your way. Make it real. And when you do that, you'll be amazed at how much more persuasive you suddenly become. Feel, felt, found is a structured, layered mini pattern on its own. It enhances rapport, reduces resistance, and can subtly guide your prospect towards your position. Now, you've learned so many persuasive techniques already, some of which are fully described in my book, Brilliant Persuasion. So, by now, you can layer the patterns you've learned to strengthen your powers of persuasion. We're to move beyond using patterns in isolation and discover how to blend them, how to layer them together to guide and crucially direct conversations towards your goal. One important note. Much of what we'll cover here builds on the techniques introduced in episode 2. I really appreciate how you might feel about stopping this podcast here, especially as you're enjoying it so much. But here's the thing, most people felt the same about stopping midway through this unit. But without exception, those who did found after listening to Unit 2, everything fell naturally in place. Think about it. Why wouldn't you want to get the most out of this unit? And you'll notice how more persuasive you'll be.
Oops, there you go again. Can I jump in, Steve?
Hi, Mark. Sure.
For those that didn't notice what Steve just said, he just used the feel, felt, found technique and followed it with prohibition and awareness language that was covered in the last episode. A great example of layering the patterns. Just thought I'd pop that in.
Thanks for drawing attention to that. I hope almost everyone heard the first pattern, but some may have missed the second. So, let's ask the question, why use layered or multiple language patterns? To effectively persuade anyone, using multiple techniques within a single conversation is far more effective than relying on only one and expecting instant compliance. It simply doesn't work that way. Having said that, even using a single pattern proactively will set you head and shoulders above everyone else who hasn't the foggiest idea about persuasion. People don't usually change their minds because you win an argument. They change because they feel heard, understood, and safe to consider a new idea. Your goal isn't to beat someone down, it's to gently guide them through their own resistance, and that's why we use layers. Each layered language pattern has a specific purpose: lowering resistance, reframing the issue, discovering what truly matters to your prospect, building rapport, or eliciting the information you need to tailor your message to both their needs and your goal. In this episode, we'll layer 4 language patterns. First, we'll use the agreement frame from episode 2. You remember all you have to say is, I agree. You're right. This diffuses conflict immediately and lowers resistance as you appear to accept the other person's view, even if you don't fully agree. We'll follow this with the redefine from episode 2 to reframe whatever is said that's not in line with our objective. Our third pattern is the complex equivalence, again from episode 2. And finally, we'll add feel, felt, found, the pattern we've just covered. So let's hear how this works in real conversations. You're about to hear a couple of quick dialogues, and then I'll walk you through how they've layered the techniques we've been talking about. Here's example 1. It's a sales conversation between Jeremy, a sales consultant, and Grace, his potential client, who's definitely unconvinced at having to pay high upfront fees.
Grace, you're right, and I have to agree with you. There is no getting away from it. When you work with us, there's an initial investment.
I just don't know if it's worth paying so much up front, especially if we can get something similar without the fee. It's just not something we usually do.
I understand how you feel. Many of our clients felt the same way, and they found the real issue wasn't the fee. It's the extra value they would receive. They weren't just hiring a service. They were gaining a partner, invested in their success. And that means long-term savings, real support, and something built to last.
We'll need to think about it. I can see how it might make sense in the long run, but that fee still feels high.
Let me walk you through the numbers. They tell the story better than I ever could.
Let's unpack that dialogue. Firstly, Jeremy begins with the agreement frame by saying you're right, and I agree with you. This lowers Grace's initial resistance. Secondly, notice that after agreeing with Grace, he says and, not but. If you've listened to episode 2, you'll remember the psychology behind that subtle shift. Thirdly, he continues to reframe the issue. Fourth, he throws in a complex equivalence. He's showing the upside of the newly reframed issue by saying what that means and tying it to real savings over time. And finally, he uses feel felt found to show he gets how Grace feels and backs it up with a bit of social proof. This layered approach doesn't pressure, it guides. Who could refuse? Example 2, a casual conversation between friends, Jessica and Mark.
I don't know if I want to go to that event. I'll feel so awkward.
You're right, Jessica. Big events can feel overwhelming. And the issue isn't really the size. It's who you spend your time with when you're there, isn't it? And that means if you find the right people, it's much more comfortable. I get how you feel. I felt the same about big parties. Though what I've found, once you go, you can relax and you'll have a really great time.
Let's unpack this dialogue together. Mark's approach confirms how these techniques work in all circumstances. He agrees with Jessica that she might feel uncomfortable, instead of making her feel foolish for it. He uses the agreement frame to meet her where she is, then redefines the real issue, adds a complex equivalence to link it to a better outcome, and wraps it up with feel felt found to reassure her. It's gentle, supportive persuasion done well. There's another very subtle technique in this example, one that smart persuaders often use, but we haven't covered in this seminar yet, and that's the pronoun shift. In the feel felt found example, Mark said, "What I found once you go," he continues, "you can relax, and you'll have a really great time." This is a particularly subtle way of planting suggestions, and something we might explore in greater depth in a future episode. It doesn't matter that it doesn't sound grammatically correct. Most won't pick it up, and the suggestion is heard. For practice, start actively listening to others, and you'll hear the pronoun shift and other techniques used obliviously by many who have no idea that with only a little forethought, you will dramatically increase your powers of persuasion. Our aim is to use the pronoun shift purposefully to plant suggestions. It's not a throwaway line.
Hey, Stephen.
Anthony,
Do you think our listener picked up on what you've just said?
I've no idea, but maybe if they replay the last few minutes, they might.
Sometimes you're very sneaky.
Thank you. I think. Let's hear example 3. This is Rachel talking with her young son, Ben, who doesn't want to go to school.
You're right, Ben. New stuff can feel a bit funny in your tummy, can it? But maybe it's not really school that's the big worry. Maybe it's just not knowing what's going to happen. And that means once you know where to go and who's super nice, it's going to be great fun. I know exactly how you feel, sweetheart. A bit nervous, right? Let me tell you a little secret. Daddy felt just the same on his first day at school as well. And you know what he found? After a day, he realized school was the best place to make friends, play games, and have loads of fun.
With children, this layered approach works beautifully. The agreement frame lowers fear. The redefine clarifies the real issue. The complex equivalence offers hope, and the feel felt found technique reassures with empathy and proof. You'll notice the tone is gentler. The structure of the pattern is the same. The vocabulary is child-friendly. Also, I've added another technique that may have been missed that works with everyone. Whenever you want to make someone more receptive, in hushed tones, lean forwards and say, "Let me tell you a secret," or "There's something I must share with you that nobody else knows." You'll discover, no matter what you say, a real secret or not, receptivity is heightened. Finally, let's consider workplace conflict and listen to teammates Jessica and Dorothy in conflict. Michael is the mediator.
I'm sick of picking up all the slack.
Yeah, well, you just dump everything on me and expect me to do it all.
Dorothy and Jessica, I agree you're both right. And it can absolutely feel unfair when workloads pile up. And the issue isn't really who's to blame, it's how we divide the work better. And that means making sure everyone feels supported and clear on what's theirs. I know how you both feel. Other teams I've worked with felt the same way as you are now when change happens. What they found was when they broke down tasks clearly together, everyone felt less pressure and worked better as a team.
This is a perfect example for conflict resolution. The agreement frame acknowledges both sides. The redefine shifts blame to a shared problem. A complex equivalence explains the benefit of change. Feel felt found confirms and reassures. It turns conflict into collaboration. The key is to adapt the sequence of language patterns to suit your style and your everyday figure of speech. Don't change anything. Be natural. There's no single correct order. Choose the path that feels most effective and right for you and the person you're talking with and the context, and enjoy the process. Persuasion isn't a trick. It's a skill. It's about truly listening, respecting someone's point of view, and gently guiding them to see something new. Because when you can say honestly, "I see you, I hear you, you're not alone, let's find a way forward together," that's brilliant persuasion. Thanks for joining us today. Remember to check out episode 2 for a deeper dive into the agreement frame, the redefine, and the complex equivalence. Some of the persuasion techniques in this episode are from my book, Brilliant Persuasion, available from Amazon. Own your copy today. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep getting brilliant at persuasion. Until next time, see you soon.